Sam Faddis passed away on Saturday evening. If anybody's virtually almost irreplaceable here in the war room, Sam would be one of the key elements. Such a great job of representing patriots in the MAGA movement from the early days of the steal in 2020. Sam had so many years of experience in Iran, in the Middle East. He was unique, I think, among people coming on TV or radio. But God's will was he would leave us, and he would leave us on Saturday night, but he will live with us forever.
Sam Faddis, it's great to have you with us.
Retired CIA officer Sam Faddis, good friend of the program.
My friend Sam Faddis, what a great friend of the show, great friend of the network, also really, really smart guy.
Former CIA operative. Sam, I want to bring you into this.
Sam Faddis, I know you have some thoughts, probably some great writing, too, on everything going on.
If I had been in a position to advise the president before this war started, my advice would have been, don't do this, don't start this war. This is a very bad idea.
Tell us what your thoughts are.
Send in the U.S. Navy, put boarding parties on board, all 40 of them, take all of their oil and take all of their tankers and apply all that money to the cost of the war and give it to the American taxpayers.
The Israelis are saying right now is that this thing's a non-starter. And when they look at the 10 points and they're getting their nose rubbed in this, they're actually, from their perspective, correct, are they not?
This is a surrender document. There's no way in hell we can agree to this thing.
What are your thoughts on what you're seeing right now from what the president has said to now Iran's response?
I would say from long experience with the Iranians, don't pop any champagne corks.
Sam, your advice to the president.
Do not release any pressure we have on these people. Squeeze them and let them sit and be crushed under that pressure.
The region is never going to be stable given its nature. Am I wrong in that, sir?
Amen, Steve. Look, stop trying to fix all of this. If they ever want to work it out, they can work it out, but we're not going to fix it. And look, I'm just going to say this. Jolani, head of, the guy who runs Syria now, the guy's Al-Qaeda. Okay, I get it, he wears a suit now, and he claims he's not part of Al-Qaeda anymore. Inviting the Al-Qaeda Sunni extremists from Syria to go fight the Shia extremist crazy people in Lebanon is not going to fix the problem. Those guys have been at war for 1,500 years over the question of who gets to succeed the prophet, and they're going to keep fighting forever, and it's not going to make it better to turn them on each other. They already do that enough on their own.
There never was a Pennsylvania patriot like Sam Faddis who could quite do it all the way that he did.
It's kind of breathtaking of how prescient Sam Faddis was, not simply a good man and a patriot that dedicated his life to his country, but somebody that had really the ability to look downrange, just an extraordinary individual. Tuesday, 28 July, year of our Lord 2026. It's not ironic that on the day we do the tribute in the afternoon that Zelensky and Netanyahu would be at the White House in the Oval Office this morning during the morning show. And of course, we were led with Sam Faddis to break it all down for us, since he did such a great job over the years on both Ukraine and the situation in the Middle East, whether it's Gaza, Iran, the Houthis, all of it, and particularly since he spent, at least a decade of his life in country with the Persians, but around that area for 25, 30 years. Also, our first guest this morning, we're going to try to jam a lot in. Zelensky's in the Oval right now. It's closed to press. They're going to have then Netanyahu come in at 11. Supposedly that's closed to press. We'll see, because, the president calls it audible. If either they open it up to the media for Zelensky now or Netanyahu later, we will cut immediately to that, because these are obviously two very important meetings. But Sam Faddis wore another hat, particularly after he retired, one of the patriot leaders in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and particularly focused on, guess what, the big steal. This is where we first met Sam, was years ago after the 2020 election, when we had Sam on all the time about the big steal. We're going to go to Texas with Scott Presler. Scott, we're really jammed up today, but I had to get you in here because I don't think anybody's got a better finger on the pulse of the grassroots than Scott Presler, because you're going around the country and still working the program right now. Tell us, what do you think? You're in Texas. You had a event last night with Governor Abbott. You've got a great feel for the Texas grassroots, also Pennsylvania. Tell us what's going on.
Thank you, Steve. Well, we honor Sam Faddis and all the work that he did, especially in Erie County, Pennsylvania, one of the most swing counties in the entire nation. So I am here in Texas. I did an event last night with Governor Abbott and statewide leaders, as well as Representative Shelley Luther. And my message was simple and clear that while we are working towards winning the midterms, I am keenly aware that part of that equation means passing the Save America Act. And I'm asking legislators at the state level that while we are working to pass the Save America Act at the federal level, let's secure our elections state by state, and in a state like Texas, close our gosh darn primaries and allow for only Republican voters to choose Republican candidates. And I have to say that my speech was met with some of the greatest applause, because the American people want nothing more than election security, especially after 2020, Steve.
I want to go to that. Can we get the cover? I mean, you know the president. The cover of your book, I think, has got a magnificent photo of you and the president in the Oval. The president, for the first time, I believe last night, and Mike Davis is going to be on here because we've been advocating this as well. Scott, and by the way, this is the new book, The Persistence. You got to get it. It's a story of Scott Presler, but also the story of the MAGA movement. And it's about resilience. It's about being indefatigable. It's about being anti-fragile. This is an amazing story that really puts you in the kind of the ground view of the grassroots in the fight to basically win 3 elections in a row. Scott, the recess for the Senate is coming up. President Trump last night echoed Mike Davis and others we had on the show and said, hey, look, I don't think anybody should be leaving Washington, D.C. or going on recess until the Save America Act is done. Your thoughts, sir?
Yes, well, Rick Scott, senator out of Florida, said it best. No results, no recess. Besides OBBB, what does the Senate really have to talk about what it's done in the last year and a half? We haven't gotten recess appointments. We haven't gotten forth any of President Trump's landmark policies that he campaigned on in the 2024 election. We demand results, and the Senate does not deserve a 5-week, 37-day paid vacation. And quite frankly, Steve, let's be honest. If these senators go back to their home respective states, they're going to do more damage not having passed the Save America Act than if they stay in D.C., show the American people that they actually care about us, work through weekends, and do everything in their power to give us photo, voter ID, and proof of citizenship. With Mikey Sherrill showing illegal aliens in New Jersey, and with the work that we are doing now, Steve, to expose non-juror lists, where we are finding thousands of non-citizens that have been getting jury summons, that are also registered to vote, that are also voting. This is a constitutional crisis.
Whoa. Slow down. Hit rewind.
Yes.
What are you telling me is going on? That non-citizens are being called for jury duty and they're showing up and taking jury. How is that happening?
So in Arizona, this is documented. In Michigan, this is documented. In Pennsylvania, non-citizens are receiving jury summons. Now, I didn't say that they are actually serving on juries, because some of these people are self-identifying as non-citizens, so they are being disqualified. Now, not every state, Steve, allows for the public to inspect non-juror lists. But in Pennsylvania, we've done our research. Public records are open to inspection for non-juror lists, those non-citizens that have been disqualified. So what I'm doing by county, Steve, for all 67 is acquiring the non-juror list, which shows me non-citizens. I am then cross-referencing the non-juror list with the voter rolls in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And sure enough, flag by flag, we are matching potential illegal alien non-citizen voters that have both been summoned for jury duty and are listed as voters on the voter rolls. And that's why in the last week alone, you've seen the Department of State try to cover this up by removing voters from the rolls. And in the last 7 days, the Democrats had a net loss of nearly 10,000 voters. And we are now, because of this uncovering work, 56,006 voters, Steve, from flipping the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania from blue to red. And I hope that Sam would be proud of the work that we're doing.
No doubt he would. Let me ask you, in Pennsylvania, Arizona, Texas, the place you've been going, Georgia, because the House is going to come down to, let's say, 15 fights of districts, 12 of which, let's say, Trump won, roughly. The urgency, so those are very targeted, and these are places that Scott Presler has targeted. The sense of the grassroots leaders in those districts, are you getting the sense of urgency that the MAGA leadership understands? Forget what the political operatives were saying, forget what everything, back to kind of Scott Presler 101. It's a ground game, and a ground game's got to be led by grassroots. Are you seeing right now the intensity and urgency you feel is necessary for us to hold those seats?
It's a nuanced question. I think from people that are in the political game, yes, we, the posse, understands the urgency. However, I have to be real. I was just in Arizona for primary day. It was one of the lowest primary turnouts since, I do believe, the early 2000s. And that does not spell a good fortune for us for this midterm election when we can defeat Katie Habs. I think the grassroots is demoralized because they see the House doing its job, they see the president doing its job, and they see Senate Majority Leader John Thune sitting on his hands and saying, we don't have the votes. And right now, the American people, they very much feel, we don't have the votes for you then, sir, if you are not going to deliver what you campaigned upon, that we delivered the majorities that you have today. And so my final plea to the posse, to everyone watching, is I need you to light up the phones peacefully. Cruz has not agreed to no recess right now. Katie Britt has not agreed. Mike Crepo has not agreed. John Thune has not agreed. Tim Scott has not agreed. John Hoeven has not agreed. All of these people are up for election, with the exception of Ted Cruz, in 2028. And my message is simple. Deliver to us election integrity, or we are going to make what happened this year, defeating John Cornyn in Texas and defeating Cassidy in Louisiana, look like child's play in the 2028 Senate primaries.
Scott, where do people go to find out your travel schedule? Where they go? People should get this book. It's a magnificent read. It'll get you jacked up about what's possible, because it's about resilience, right? And about being tough and never giving up. Scott, where they get the book, where they get you on social media, because you're putting up great stuff on Twitter and Getter all the time. And where do they go for your website to find out where you're going to be in the future?
Thank you. At my organization, earlyvoteaction.com, we have 21 full-time staffers on the ground in Pennsylvania doing everything we can to secure victory this November. The book is available on Amazon. Shockingly, Jeff Bezos is allowing me to sell it there. That's the persistence on Amazon. And just posse, I ask you today through August 7th, please call your senators, not only in their DC offices, but in your local state respective offices, and give them a very peaceful demand. Give us the Save America Act. Remain in DC to pass this country-saving legislation, or we, the people, will work tirelessly to primary, defeat, and replace you.
Scott, thank you so much. You would make Sam Faddis very proud of the efforts you guys are doing in his name. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Posse.
Mike Davis is coming on with the same topic, taking a different cut at this than Scott did, but I want to hang on for 1 second. I got to get Joshua Lisec in. And Joshua, you're the co-author with Basobic Unhuman. So you know and know in depth the situation with this red-green alliance, and particularly the Marxist part of it, the jihadist part of it. You came to me last night with news that I said, no, Joshua, you got to be wrong. That can't be right. You got to double and triple check it before you come to the war room. Unfortunately, I think you might be right. Can you just walk through exactly this kind of news item you want to talk about today and why it's so important to talk about it today at this moment?
Yes, that's right. And thank you, Steve. So I live in Dayton, Ohio, which is next door to Springfield. Of course, Springfield is now infamous for the eating the cats, eating the dog meme. What if eating pets was the least of all worries for the people of Springfield? There was a massive Haitian influx that was wildly underreported. The city said it was approximately 15,000. But the locals have told me it's between 32 and 35,000 Haitians have been in Springfield. And of course, temporary protected status expired yesterday. There was a false rumor reported that 80% of Springfield's Haitian population had already self-deported. That is not correct. They are not only not self-deporting, they are spreading. The issue with the Haitian culture is that it's uniquely third world, some might even say fourth world, in the way that they do things. For example, in Haiti, when it comes to traffic safety, public health, they do things very differently. It's a uniquely unassimilated population that has been prioritized by the city, by the county, and by the NGO administrative complex there. So not only are Haitians not self-deporting, but they are receiving benefits, they are receiving opportunities for work, they are still driving despite apparently the driver's license no longer being good, they're still working despite work permits not being there, and there are churches and nonprofits that have been distributing flyers how to resist deportation, how to maximally intercept ICE, should ICE show up and begin mass deportations. It's really something because they have committed, the local churches and the nonprofit and charitable networks, they have committed to what they are simply describing as civil disobedience on behalf of the Haiti first population here. It's really something. The people of Springfield, because I wrote the first book on this American migrant crisis, simply entitled Haitians of Springfield. And I spent 10 weeks on the ground documenting everything. I got to tell you, the so-called debunking of what they called Trump's racist hoax about the Haitians, the belief that it was a hoax is the hoax. I have successfully debunked the debunking. And the crazy thing about cats being consumed, ducks and geese disappearing and being snatched up by Haitians in the park, the most bizarre aspect is that the people of Springfield really didn't care about that. They cared about the fact that Haitian culture, stoplights, stop signs, yield signs are considered suggestions. If there's a car stopped in front of you at a stop sign, well, you just honk or bump their car or drive up on the sidewalk or through someone's yard to get around them. It's underdeveloped fourth world level driving tactics. What the Haitians have been doing, for example, is going to food banks, getting freebies from all the churches and whatnot, and then going and selling them out of vans, opening up businesses without licenses, selling alcohol, including spirits, having hookah available, which of course is illegal to do both of those at the same time. And they're just simply doing whatever they want. And Springfield City Police have been ordered not to issue the appropriate citations and arrests and whatnot. The entire city is Haiti first, despite being run by Republicans. The people of Springfield have a very tough go of it, and they're hoping for their liberation. I'm going to go to the Springfield City Commission meeting tonight, but it looks like what has been happening across the city is the Haitians aren't going anywhere. In fact, they're celebrating, having weddings, funerals, opening up businesses, keeping their careers going, keeping their jobs going, still driving.
Hang on.
And it looks like the city is not.
And by the way,
cooperated.
I'm going to talk to you after. I'm going to talk to you afterwards. We're going to try to stream that meeting for you and others. But hang on. I got it. And your thing is definitive and smart and well researched. However, brother, I was under the assumption that when they pulled TPS and their eligibility for that program ended, which is yesterday, they were going to be boarding planes or buses today at the latest yesterday or today, this morning at dawn to go back to Haiti. What are you telling me? You got 32 to 35,000 really there, and they're celebrating and starting businesses and having weddings and putting down roots. I thought they're gone. I thought we made a very specific decision that they're gone. And of course, Kung Fu Plumber, who runs DHS, came on a TV show, I think Jake Tapper, and said, well, they should apply for permanent status. The president came out immediately and said, full stop. TPS is pulled. They got to leave. So what happened? Why are they not out of the country? Why are you even why is there even a city council meeting to discuss this today? It should be to discuss, hey, we got all these new properties and let's rebuild now that this third world population is heading back to the third world, sir.
Yes, it's a strange thing. ICE has not shown up yet, as far as I can tell. I'm getting regular updates from several dozen Springfield residents, longtime people, including those who've been formerly in public service in Springfield. They are rather enraged that the Haitians seem to be celebrating, going about their business. They're seen going to work this morning. They're seen driving out on the streets. They're seen at a Walmart. And one of the most interesting sights is how, because they get so many benefits from the county, city, state, federal, and whatnot, they load up their shopping carts to be 1.5 to 2 times full, almost like some sort of a cartoon or comic or parody. Just how full their carts are. Meanwhile, local veterans, single parents, working class people are literally pinching their dollars, counting to see if they have enough coupons clipped to be able to purchase the 4 or 5 items in their cart from generic brands. It is really something to observe. I'm going to go there again today. But as of 10:21 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Haitians are all in place still in Springfield. They've put down the roots. They've leveraged birthright citizenship to have as many children as they possibly can. What many have also done is lied about marital status, even though they were married, so that they can apply for single parent benefits and popping out as many children as they possibly can, even into their mid to late 40s, Haitian women. It's a maximum loophole-seeking effort that has been assisted by the Christian and other religious community, charitable foundations, and nonprofit groups that exist to serve the people of Haiti over and above the people of Springfield. Springfield has enough being second-class citizens, but it looks like the city's not done forcing them into that submission yet.
Has the city, has any contact been made between DHS, ICE officials in the Trump administration with the locals to say, hey, here's the timeline of when we're going to execute the culmination of the TPS program and remove these people, or offer them but provide the means by which they will exit the country and return to Haiti, sir?
Yeah, City Commission, as far as I know, the mayor, Rob Rue, they have simply said the throwaway statements of, we are going to cooperate with federal law, we're going to cooperate. We keep hearing that we're going to cooperate, but we're not actually seeing any of that cooperation. The police force has been seen, and it's been reported to me directly over the past several months. They've been going around to businesses, telling businesses not to cooperate with ICE. I will say it again. Springfield police has been told me directly. They've been going to Springfield businesses, ordering Springfield businesses not to cooperate with ICE. This is, in effect, a sanctuary city, Springfield. The city will deny this, obviously. But from my perspective, Springfield, Ohio is acting like it's a sanctuary city to keep the Haiti first population in place in order to replace the working class, white Christian, largely Republican community that's there.
But the officials there are Republicans, right? I realize some of the deep state in these tiny towns, the permanent administrative state, are left wing. But the city itself is still in Republican hands?
Yes, but I will call them gentry Republicans, very much so like Ohio's Governor Mike DeWine, who famously has a number of charitable organizations and foundations in Haiti. Governor DeWine has been one of the most liberal and explicitly left-wing governors Ohio has ever had, and that sort of Haiti first priority does indeed trickle down to the Haitian populations of not just Springfield, but also Dayton, Ohio, where I live, Columbus, Ohio, Lima, Findlay, and other cities in Ohio, where they've been granted sanctuary and have been prioritized, Haitians to the front of all lines. And it's because of this sort of, I will call it a white savior complex that these country club Republicans have. It's very much so the same let's say, vibe or energy that you see going towards supporting Vivek Ramaswamy for governor. It's the same communities of Republicans. I have heard in they will call Vivek, they call him our Obama, is what country club Republican organizers around the state have been calling Vivek. He's our Obama. And I do think there is a racial aspect to this, where because the Haitians have African ancestry, there's that white guilt / white savior complex that kicks in. Like, and we got to help these people. We got to do the best that we can. They don't know any better. They don't understand. And so there's been a two-tier justice system in Springfield, where Haitians have committed various violations, misdemeanors, including felonies, and the felonies are dropped to misdemeanor, or the misdemeanors are dropped. It's catastrophic, and it's all coming out in the Haitians of Springfield book, which releases here in a couple of months.
Where do the people go right now if they want to? The Haitians of Springfield, if they want to get it, where do they go, Joshua?
It's available for pre-order on Amazon, and I have a number of comics that are kind of tying in, parodying, and only barely exaggerating the situation that are on my X feed at Joshua Lisec and elsewhere. The story of Haitians of Springfield is when one culture eats another. What if the cats and dogs were the least of all worries? There have been people killed by Haitians, Steve, in Springfield and surrounding areas. And what I keep saying is that the correct number of Ohioans killed by Haitians is 0. And every number above that is intent of policy. And the number is not 0 anymore.
Joshua, one more time, where do they go for your social media?
At Joshua Lisec, Lisec, on X.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate that. We're going to get you back on here and drill down on this, particularly in the next couple of days. Thank you, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you, Steve.
Mike Davis, I've got you here for a couple of things. We are going to take a break at 10:30. Zelensky's in the Oval. If we go live, we'll go there. It doesn't look like, at least right now. Also with Netanyahu at 11. So we're going to be juggling a lot of balls. President's going to go to the National Cathedral today. Lindsey Graham's, the remains of Senator Graham are at the Capitol. I think there's going to be a brief ceremony there. President's going to be at National Cathedral today at 2 o'clock. We're going to be back with the Sam Faddis special at 5, so it is quite packed today. Mike Davis, before I get you, I'm going to hold you through the break. Just right there. I mean, Mike, you work on this behind the scenes as hard as anybody. About this urgency and getting people focused. Here you have the situation where we win these big decisions. The TPS program goes away. It's upheld. Yesterday was day that, hey, all Haitians under the temporary protective status go home. Not only are they still here, they look like they're being protected in Springfield, and they're thriving. They're having weddings. They're starting new businesses. This is one of the reasons we have low enthusiasm, urgency. This is a basic policy of President Trump. Why is this, when we win these things in the courts and win these huge victories, like I'm going to get to the one we just won a couple of weeks ago about President Trump can take on the federal bureaucracy. When we win them, why are we then not taking those wins and driving it home so on a policy basis we can actually execute on the wins, sir?
Yeah, the Supreme Court just issued the most egregious ruling imaginable, worse than Dred Scott's, that Chinese birth tourists and other illegal aliens, invaders, have birthright citizenship under the 14th Amendment to the Constitution. So that means that anyone who is in our country, even on a temporary basis, even if they're here illegally, even if they are Tren de Aragua, MS-13, violent gangbangers, their kids get birthright citizenship. And so the solution is to get these people the hell out of our country as fast as possible. And that includes these Syrians and these Haitians who came here after a civil war in Syria, I think it was 14 years ago, and an earthquake in Haiti 16 years ago under temporary protected status. It's not temporary. 14 years and 16 years is not temporary. These people do not share our values. They're not going to assimilate into our culture. They're not going to add value. They're actually fleecing us. We need to get them the hell out of our country. And so I would say this to our buddy Mark Wayne Mullen: get these Haitians the hell out of Springfield, and do it today.
Mike Davis, hang on. We're going to talk about the United States Senate. We're also going to talk about a big win at the court. I don't think it's gotten enough at the appellate court level. It's gotten enough exposure. Another big win. Now we need to execute on it. The Viceroy is next in the War Room.
Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, Zelensky of the Ukraine is in the White House in the West Wing with the president. Netanyahu, Prime Minister Netanyahu, is supposed to come in right after that. They're separate meetings. The president is trying to avoid the merger of those two. We keep talking about the kinetic part of the Third World War, where you do not want the Ukraine front and the Middle East front to unite around the Caspian Sea, or then, folks, we're going to be there for 30 years, okay? Take your number 2 pencil out and write that down. The President of the United States has the weight of the world on his shoulders. Have all the decisions been perfect? I think he would even say probably not, but he's working his way through this. Remember, if we didn't have Trump, we wouldn't have a country. So all the bitching and moaning about Trump, it ain't perfect, I got that. But he didn't have President Trump, you wouldn't have a country now. But Mike Davis, we have to exploit the victories. You came on and did the best explanation of this horrible decision of the Supreme Court about birthright citizenship after we had Schweitzer on in the books and all that to show that our enemies are using this as a weapon. And when you get a situation with another monumental win, when we get a situation on the temporary protective status, like you said, it was permanent. Now it's done. It's over. And we got Syria and the Haitians that are supposed to leave. How does it work out that on the moment that it expires, the buses are not there to go to the planes to take them back to Haiti? How does that work? I mean, the president's got the way of the world straight. He can't sit around and execute everything. This is a vast government. It's spent $7.5 trillion a year. It's got 4 million, it's got 2 million workers, 2 million military, 2 million bureaucrats, another 6 million contractors. So it's about 10 million people think about to run a $7.5 trillion operation, which kind of makes sense. He can't do it all. How do we have a situation like this, Viceroy?
It's amazing to me that the government can trip over itself to lavish these illegals with welfare and let them defraud our country for years and years and years. Our Senate can trip over itself to send hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine, but we can't seem to get it together when we want to get rid of people who do not share our values by mass deporting these Haitians and Somalians. We can't seem to get it together in the Senate when the Save America Act has the support of over 80% of Americans, including a supermajority of Democrats, a supermajority of minorities, a supermajority of Black Americans who Democrats pretend aren't smart enough to get a voter ID. When in reality, the Democrats, we have the evidence that Democrats have mass imported people who do not share our values.
Scott Presler, who's like Johnny Appleseed of our movement, Scott Presler is now saying there's tens of thousands of non-citizens get on the rolls for jury duty and showing up for jury duty. Now he's trying to find out. This thing is so out of control. Now, the president last night finally picked up your mantra and said, he put a shot across Thune's thing. He says, hey, look, I don't know why we're leaving if Save America is not done. I think you guys ought to rethink that. A couple of senators have jumped in there. You're a man of the Senate. We've got Mike Lee and a couple others say, hey, look, we're going to have to take a vote on this thing. I don't think we ought to leave until we get it done. And now Thune's saying it can't get done. We got to get out of here. What's the status? Since the president has now taken the side of the viceroy in this, saying recesses for kids, you need to stick around. No gains, no accomplishments, no leave on vacation. So where do you think we stand in this now?
This is a lack of will by Senate Majority Leader John Thune, because he is a pussy. And let me tell you why I think that. The Save America Act has the support of over 80% of Americans. Supermajority Democrats, supermajority minorities, supermajority of Black Americans. There's no reason this should not already be on President Trump's desk. We've done procedural votes where we know it has 50 votes in the Senate, and J.D. Vance could break the tie. Thune and the other Rhino establishment says that, oh, we need 60 votes to pass legislation in the Senate. No, you do not. You need 60 votes to end debate in the Senate. Then you can pass legislation with a simple majority. And how you end debate is let the opposition, let Democrats run out of gas. And you say, oh, we don't have time for unlimited debate. We're so busy. When I was in the Senate for Grassley confirming Trump's judges in the first term, it is amazing how many judges we can confirm by just threatening to make Democrats work past 2 p.m. on Thursdays, right? They leave at 2 p.m. on Thursdays. They come, they do a bed check at 5:30 p.m. on Mondays. Have confirmation Thursdays, have confirmation Fridays, have confirmation Mondays. And God forbid you threaten to cancel the high holy month of August recess in the Senate, because it's amazing. You can get many, many judges confirmed. There's no reason Thune should not say we are going to debate and vote on the Save America Act, and you can stay all of August, or we can do it in 3 days, however long you want to do it. I know that the Senate is the swamp within the swamp, and it's the reptiles in the DC swamp seem to be the only reptiles on the planet that lack backbones. But I think that we can cancel August recess. Recess is for kids. And I know that's tough for the most elite nursing home in the world to hear this, but you should cancel August recess and do your damn job and get the Save America Act to the president's desk for his signature.
Now that some senators are actually, and some guys with some stroke, the Mike Lees, the Rick Scotts, people like that are saying, hey, you know what, Davis, these people are saying this may be right. Is there going to be a procedural fight even to leave? Because you got some people now saying, hey, look, I think this is a very bad look for us, and we got to deal with it. Your thoughts, sir?
I think that the president should keep them in session. And if they want to do pro forma sessions, call the roll. Make them come fly in every 2 days to do a vote, right? And then they're gonna break. And if they don't show up, you send the sergeant at arms to arrest them and bring them back to work. I'm tired of this. There is no excuse for these Senate Republicans to not get this major legislative win for America on President Trump's desk. There's no excuse. We know that Democrats are mass registering illegal aliens all across America. We have the proof, thanks to the Trump Justice Department, Todd Blanche, Stanley Woodward, Harmeet Dillon, Jesus Assetti, that we have an all-star team. They have uncovered this evidence. We have illegals illegally on our voter rolls. We know that they are voting. We had 400 of them that we know voted in New Hampshire. This is happening on a mass scale across America. We know that they're registered to vote because, as you said, Steve, they're being called for jury service, right? And so if we do not put measures in place to protect our vote, our most sovereign, crucial sovereign power to decide who represents us, to decide who comes and goes, to decide who becomes one of us. If we don't protect that, we're going to lose our country to the third world, like we're seeing in New York City, like we're seeing in the United Kingdom, in London. And so this is such an easy piece of legislation if the Senate would get off their asses, cancel August recess, and get the job done.
Like we're seeing in Ohio. By the way, I think it's New Jersey, not New Hampshire. One last thing. By the way, jury of your peers, you would agree, Viceroy, does not mean non-citizen aliens sitting on a jury. I mean, it's so absurd. This thing's so out of control. Also, as Scott Presler says, and we reinforce, we're doing this for the Senate. There's zero probability, I think, they're going to hold the Senate because of the lack of enthusiasm of the grassroots, unless they make an overwhelming effort to pass Save America and actually get it passed. We understand it's going to be hard work. That's what they're here for. Last thing, because I know you got to bounce. Mike, we haven't had enough time to cover. We've had big victories a lot, and this reflects on the Justice Department doing such a great job. President Trump now has, backed by the courts, the authority to be much more aggressive in downsizing the federal bureaucracy, really going after the administrative state, does he not?
Yeah, the Supreme Court just lifted an injunction by a Democrat activist judge. Look, the president should mass fire federal employees. There is recourse. They can go to the Merit System Protection Board if they're an employee. They can go to the Court of Federal Claims if they're a contractor. If they have to go there and get, a few months worth of pay, whatever. Just get them the hell out of our government. These people are bad actors. We saw this with the Tony Fauci's of the world. Too many of these bureaucrats are lazy and useless, or even worse, they're subversive, and they undermine the duly elected president of the United States. There's so much waste, fraud, and abuse that's on their watch. What the hell have they been doing when we have billions of dollars going to Somali warlords and pirates and other illegal aliens
and
so
Haitians
they can fund wars against us?
But this is another example of a radical judge that put a stay that tries to, what they're trying to do is at least block and slow down. But it has been lifted. So now you can rust vote in the team. You can go to the mass firings. Of course, it's going to be challenged again, et cetera. But the Supreme Court is showing us a path to what you've been saying in the years in the wilderness, the Article 2 powers of the President of the United States. Numero uno, he's chief executive officer of the government. He can hire and fire anybody, including these tangential agencies. He can, the appropriations bill is a floor, not a ceiling. He's got the authority to do this. The courts are backing us up. Isn't it now more than ever to let's drop the hammer, do some mass firings, and have them bring it, baby? You want to get people jacked up? Have a mass layoff of the federal government and let them go back to court, okay? Let them go back to court. Let's just do it, sir.
Yeah, Bill Pulte, the acting director of national intelligence, is going through his 5th round of layoffs. This guy is an all-star. People make fun of Bill Pulte, but they can make fun of him. They can laugh all they want. Now they're crying because Bill Pulte is draining the swamp, the intel swamp. The worst of the worst swamps is the deep state. Bill Pulte's doing his 5th round of layoffs. Every agency head, every cabinet secretary should be mass firing federal employees. There's no question about it. Let's drain the swamp. Our federal government should be about 10% of the size that it is right now. It is a colossal waste. It's a colossal failure. Fire these people, drain the swamp.
Viceroy, where do people go, particularly Article 3 now that we're in the middle of this fight over Save America? Where do they go? What do they do, sir?
Go to article3project.org, article number 3projects.org. Donate. Follow us on social. The War Room Posse Superpower Take Action, the 2 key action items. Let's get Todd Blanche confirmed. Light up both of your home state senators. Patch through phone calls, social media, emails to make sure that these rhinos don't lose their spine. And then the Save America Act, top right, tell Congress to stop illegal immigrants from stealing our elections. Those are the 2 key action items for the War Room Posse today. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate you coming on, changing your day around. We're going to go to the White House in a minute. Let me, Pulte, if you study history, particularly let's take the history of of ancient Rome, the Roman Republic before the Empire. Pulte reminds me of one of these field commanders of a legion that's not particularly well known back in the capital, but he's kicking ass and taking names wherever in whatever province he's in. He's getting the job done. He gets called back as a relative unknown back to Rome. And next thing you know, he's delivering big wins. Bill Pulte is an American hero. And what he's done today, again, another cut. And these are not cuts to tee DNI up. What Cotton wants is to decimate DNI so the CIA takes it over. When you look at these are very smart cuts of deep staters. Pulte has taken more action. Man, maybe we gave him to DHS. Do you think Bill Pulte, think about it for a second, do you think Bill Pulte would have let the clock struck midnight last night if he was at DHS and every Haitian wasn't on a plane or on a bus somewhere heading back to Haiti with appropriate accommodations, but you're out? Your 16-year run here is gone. Do you think for a moment that Bill Pulte would have let 1 minute go past? They wouldn't go. We need more Bill Pultes. We need the grit and determination and the steadfastness of a Bill Pulte. That's what we need, and we need it right now. Short break. We're going to the White House next.
We will fight till they're all gone. We rejoice when there's no more. Let's take down the CCP.
Added into this now, the U.S. munitions stockpile issue. I mean, the president is talking about it. He said yesterday on Air Force One, we're in very good shape, but some of the more sophisticated stuff, we'd certainly like to have more. He blamed the previous administration for sending more advanced weapons to Ukraine. He said, we have a lot of the mid-level stuff. I'd like to have more, to be honest. What are you hearing about this aspect of it, Kim?
Well, the real threat in terms of the stockpile is how fast the Patriots are getting burned through. Something like half of the 2,000 Patriot supply prior to this war, according to SIS and other analysis, has been expended. That is the stuff that you need to protect Gulf capitals, to protect U.S. bases, and yes, to protect Ukrainian cities. And it is not being replenished fast enough to meet the level of this fight. So that is a problem that military officers, according to CNN's own reporting, have stressed to Trump. We basically can't keep up, and we're, according to the U.S. intelligence community, they're not getting any sort of strategic or behavioral change out of Iran for all of these munitions expended. And that's a reality that Trump can't change with slogans.
One has been, there's no problem here. Right, we're not being driven by this. Second is, well, we wish we had some more of some kind, as you suggested. So we do have a problem there. And third is, this is all state secrets, and we ought to go find the leakers who are talking about this, which ignores the fact that both the Pentagon and private think tanks have been publishing these numbers for years about what our stockpile levels are. It is hardly a state secret, and it doesn't take much to do the math about where we are today. And among the others doing the math, the Chinese and the Russians.
So, Neil Mccabe, you were very prescient yesterday talking about these different reports that are out there. This is a central discussion point with Zelensky in the Ukraine this morning, and then I take it in a few minutes that we keep on schedule with Netanyahu. Explain us what the dilemma is.
Yeah, it's there was a report that came out about 2 weeks after the conflict with Iran started from the Royal United Services Institute, which was founded by the Duke of Wellington in 1831, where they said so far the U.S. has expended 11,000 munitions, and we don't see where this is going. And now, months later, people are starting to do the tallies. And I understand it might be a third of inventory for some weapons, half inventory of other weapons. What I look at is what does it take to replace the weapons so that we get back to where we were in January? And for, Patriot missiles, they're looking at 3 years of production just to get back to where we were. There are at least, say, 6 Patriot missile batteries in Saudi Arabia. We put Patriot missile batteries all over the world as a sign of friendship and cooperation. And so, it may reach the point where we have to start pulling them, and that's going to have other ramifications, Steve.
One, it talks about the lethality of both these wars, the one in Ukraine and the one in the Middle East. And right now, the Caspian Sea, pray to God that the president has some wisdom here and make sure that these two entities don't merge this kinetic conflict into one thing. Because if that's the case, folks, take your number 2 pencil out and circle 20 years from now, because you're going to be there for a while. We stripped the Middle East for a while to send to Ukraine, but the president has slowed that down dramatically. The pitch that Zelensky is going to make today is that, hey, with reduced American commitment through drone technology and just their own toughness. Look, we've always said that the Ukrainians are tough as you get, but I also think it puts a lie to the Russians aren't rolling over the North German plane through Poland, through Prussia and Poland, and going to take Western Europe. They can barely make a go of it in the Ukraine. So what is the pitch that Zelensky's going to make, and what is the president's options on this, Neil?
Well, as you said, Army pre-positioned stock are in depots all over the world. And the idea is that the soldiers just show up and they jump in their trucks, they grab the equipment and they roll. So you don't have to ship the equipment and the gear and everything with the soldiers. And the Army pre-positioned stock was raided like the cupboard by the Biden administration to support Ukraine. And so a lot of those warehouses are empty. I think what you're talking about when you talk about sort of the coming metastasizing of this conflict is you have last week where the Ukrainians struck Iranian and Russian vessels in the Caspian Sea. And now you have this dilemma, right? Whereas England and Italy and Germany and, Our allies are doing nothing for us, yet the Ukrainians are actually joining this fight in the Third Gulf War. And so I believe, I don't know, but I would believe that Zelensky is making the case that my drones are protecting the Gulf states. My drones were able to fly 400 or 500 miles to strike vessels in the Caspian Sea. I can join you, and I might be able to give you an exit out of this Iran conflict. And maybe you might want to help me get an exit out of my situation with Russia.
I think you've nailed it exactly. Neil, stick around. We're going to take a short commercial break in a moment. Prime Minister Netanyahu is supposed to arrive at 11 o'clock. I think he stayed at Blair House last night. The lead story in Politico has a quote from yours truly up there about how I believe he's made now at least twice as many trips to visit with the president in 18 months than Churchill did in all of World War II. Right, particularly to the White House. So a lot of, and all of them have turned out, I think, terribly. For the Israel first crowd, great. For the America first crowd, not so great. So these are very important meetings. The vice president's not in the Zelensky one. I think the reason is that he is actually participating in the Lindsey Graham ceremony up on Capitol Hill. The president, as we understand right now, will go to National Cathedral this afternoon. I believe he's going to give some remarks at Senator Graham's funeral. So all of this to come. We'll break it all down. We've got an all-star cast in the next hour, so stick around. Birch Gold, now more than ever, particularly, folks, you see the meltdown in the Asian markets based upon, wait for it, a highly leveraged bet on artificial intelligence. Looks like the chips companies are starting to back off. It's dragging down markets everywhere. Turmoil in the bond market, now more than ever. Take your phone out. Text Bannon, Bannon, 989898. Get to Philip Patrick and his team. They'll talk to you about all the different ways you can set up a gold IRA, enroll your current IRA or 401k in a tax-deferred method. But talk to Philip Patrick and the team. We're going to take a short commercial break. We're going to turn to the White House. Prime Minister Netanyahu about to arrive.
We're united, strong and free.